When you're in graduate school, you're always being asked to introduce yourself. Yeah, let's go around the room and say a few sentences about who you are and what do you do and what you're interested in. I love talking about myself, but I always struggled with this because you're supposed to cram what you're interested in, what you love, what you do, why you're there into just a couple of sentences. You're supposed to express yourself to people that you want to connect with, you want to work with, you want to research with, you want to impress. You're supposed to express yourself in just a few sentences. I started my PhD program at 34, so I had to cram my background, my lived experiences into just a couple of sentences. These pieces of us are things we carry around, we put on. For example, my undergraduate, I got a joint degree in theater and communication. I always say that because both were important. And it wasn't a double major, it was a joint major. And that was important. I have competed in competitive speech since middle school. I competed all through college. I'm an AFA All-American. And then afterwards, I coached. I coached high school for a while, and I coached in my master's program. And then I went on and I coached a nationally ranked speech team for 5 years. And even after that, I would coach on the side for fun and judge at tournaments. What else? I did a master's program, and I leaned towards performance studies. I have done a TED Talk. I've taught at 3 different universities. By the time I went into my PhD program, I had taught at 3 different universities, had taught 12 distinct courses. I'm a performer, I'm a director, I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, I'm a mentor, I'm a feminist, I'm a critical pedagogue. I love to talk to people, and I was all of this starting a rhetoric program. And these are just my career identities. These don't even get into the fact that I'm a daughter and that I'm a partner and that I'm a best friend, and I have 2 people who I consider, fake non-biological daughters. In my master's program, a professor who's also a friend of mine looked at me one day kind of, grumpy, and he said, one day you're going to have to specialize. One day you're going to have to specialize. And that never sat right with me. Now, he was talking specifically about choosing between performance studies or specializing in teaching speech and pedagogy or gender and sexuality. And I always think of these 3 things as the main areas in which I focus in. But then, of course, it's more than that, right? I'm also a critical pedagogue. And I also have done some work looking at intersections, specifically looking at Black women. And I have also studied intersex bodies. And I've also done research on female cutting. All of these different areas can't be singled out. I don't feel like I can specialize. That never has worked for me. In fact, instead of specializing, I went and started doing a PhD in rhetoric, which was none of the specific categories that I had done in the past. Instead, it felt like in some ways I was taking off some of these identities so that I could put others on, so that I could focus on all of them together. Or take pieces, maybe, of some of them. I don't know, it's difficult. It's complicated. What I do know is that I've always been me, and that I've never felt comfortable just doing one thing. In fact, in so many ways, these pieces come together and work together. After I coached a speech team for many years and was very, very focused on going to nationals and getting quals and mentoring those students on my speech team, I left. And I didn't get into graduate school that next year, which was fine. So I took a job at a university about an hour away, and I commuted for a year. And what was really cool about this job was that I got to teach a bunch of different classes, and that was really great. But it was a totally different identity. I didn't get to teach gender, which was a class I had specialized in at my previous university. And I wasn't teaching any performance studies class. I was teaching interpersonal for the first time, and I was teaching intercultural for the first time, and it was amazing for me as a teacher. But I didn't get to, express some of the pieces of my identity, which had been so very near and dear to me, in my previous job. And one day I was standing with a friend who taught psych, and I knew her relatively well through the university. And she made a comment that she was going to be talking about gender the next day, and I just started rattling stuff off, and she her jaw dropped, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, will you come talk to my class?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And that same day that I went and talked to her class, I also did an interview at a place I used to work about, I believe, pronouns. And it just really hit me that, like, I wasn't teaching gender and I wasn't coaching a speech team, but I was coaching some students on the side, and I was talking about gender, and I was always me, no matter what my job looked like. I don't know, it's complicated. Like, these intersections come together, and they make me, they bind me, they sit with me. And the more identities that I put on, the more that I solidify in my own self. It's not separate identities, they're all working together to make me. Recently, I finished my PhD. And while I was finishing my PhD, I got pregnant. And it's just an interesting thing to get pregnant while you are, trying to be all these things. You already feel like you're so much, and now you're going to have to be more. And this isn't about having it all. I mean, that's an old, tired conversation. And anybody who's tried to have it all knows that that's a load of crap, that you're not going to have it all. In fact, if anything, you're going to be not enough for anything or any piece. Instead of having it all, you want to have all of you. You want to live in the reality of all the pieces that are coming together, of all the things you can do and how you do them. My background in performance is what makes me an amazing gender scholar. My abilities in teaching public speaking, which I have dedicated so much of my life and career to doing, complement myself as a performer and complement my work in gender. I think now the fact that I've given birth is going to make me an even better mentor. All of these things work together, and I just constantly find myself wanting to use all of these different pieces of my identity to be who I am. Last year I applied for a couple of jobs knowing I was going to graduate, and my mom was asking me on the phone one day how it was going. And I said, it's okay, but it's hard because depending on the job, I have to write different materials, I've applied for a performance studies position, and I've applied for a couple of rhetoric positions, and I've applied for a generalist teaching position, and you have to kind of redo all your materials when you do that. And she said, okay, well, if you had to pick, which would you pick? I said, what? She said, if you had to pick, if you had to choose, which would you choose? Would you choose, performance studies? Would you choose gender? Would you choose teaching public speaking? What would you choose? And I said, which of your children do you love more? Now, this is a big thing in my family because we always joke. I have one sister, and we always joke, I'm the favorite child, you're the favorite child. And this really irritates my mom because she swears she has no favorite children. She exclaimed on the phone, that's not the same. I said, it sure feels like the same to me. How am I supposed to choose which of those I'm doing? And even if I go into a job that focuses on one area more than the other, I carry all of those areas with me. I am a performer. I am a speaker. I'm a teacher. I'm an amazing mentor. I'm a queer female. I'm a critical pedagogue. I'm an advocate. I'm a gender scholar. I am now a mom. I'm a person who wrote a dissertation on sex. I am a person who will stay after class to talk to students. I once had a student tell me that he didn't feel like anyone got him and that I listened to him. I was an adjunct at the time. I came to campus once a week, and yet I still found connections with those students. I'm the person who will drive over to a person's house that I used to be in graduate school with to help her with her syllabus and assure her that she's an amazing teacher and that the reason this doesn't come easy to her is because she hasn't been doing it for 10 years and she's new at it and she's going to get it, you know? I'm the type of person who Skyped into my class or videoed into my class from the hospital to make sure that they all had their videos okay and that everything was okay. Because I am teaching one class, but I'm also the type of person who didn't search very hard for a full-time job so I could take care of the human that came out of my body. It's a constant balancing act to be all these different things, but in reality, I'm not all these different things. I'm all of these things together. And all of these things complement each other. And all of these things are part of my lived reality. I carry them with me. I wear them on me. Sure, sometimes I change out of some, wear some more than others. I sometimes have to struggle to balance all of them. Sure, but I'm not leaving any of them. I'm not getting rid of any of them. If specializing means I have to pick and choose, that's not for me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep being who I am. And I'm going to love and live in that. As a person in academia, in her own specific lived reality.